Hi, my name is Amanda Reeser, and I chose to do this project by myself. I chose the debate of, is climate change real or is it a hoax? And this was sparked, of course, by the recent presidential debates. So, between the two groups, hoax or not a hoax, there was two very similar types of videos. The first one displayed scary images with news reports, and the second type, it supported it more with scientific facts and educational videos and learning aids. So what worked and what didn't? It was kind of clear what worked and what didn't. As far as articulation and speech, I found one video, it didn't have a lot of speech. It more was typed words, so a lot of those weren't available, but I'll still recognize some elements that those videos had. So in the videos where speech was present, more experienced speakers help with understanding as well as credibility. So like in my third video, Bill Nye was talking, and of course Bill Nye is always right. And so that gave a lot of credibility because he is a scientist and he does his research and he knows how these things work. It was a lot better than a news reporter just reading off a script what they were supposed to read and wasn't really interested in it, didn't do any of the research themselves. And then I found a video with politicians speaking on environmental climate change. So it really helped if they were more experienced at speaking and spoke really clearly. As far as voice goes, voice needed to be unique. Loud when it needed to be loud and soft when it needed to be soft. So for that video with no speech, I obviously couldn't write anything down. But like capital words and exclamation points really make a difference in that one. As far as the ones with the speech went, monotone news reports were really boring and I tended to tune out 30 seconds into the video. Assertive voices were okay, but assertive voices with personality spoke volumes. Speaking of volume, the more they were loud to make a point and quiet to make you lean in and really listen to what they had to say. Descriptive words are necessary as far as semantics goes. So with the only some descriptive words, these were more describing other words rather than the facts and the research they've done and what effect this has on us. So they need to be painting a picture in order to be relevant or useful. And then there was syntax. So it doesn't matter how an individual sentence flows, if they have just beautiful syntax for just one sentence, all of the sentences have to flow together or else it makes no sense and I lose interest real quick. Gestures. It's uninteresting and boring when the news reporter will just stand there reading off a screen and you can tell, and they just don't do anything. But when Bill Nye was talking, he was using gestures, he was pointing to visual aids, he was doing tons of stuff with his hands, and he would point to a visual aid and then he would exclaim with his hands to bring you from the visual aid back to the speaker. I also took images in account here. Images that conveyed emotion were important, but only if they flowed with the rest of the speech. So I think in the first video, the pictures didn't really make sense with the video because they were here's all these natural disasters, and then they were but this isn't due to climate change, this is just natural. So it was a scary thing, but what they said at the end wasn't really scary, which maybe kind of made a point more, just like negating that. It was like a surprise factor, but I didn't feel that those pictures helped. Turn the page. With organization, a clear introduction to the topic was necessary, and then after that, the organization could have been done in several ways. So, some organization, it's like beginning, middle, end. Or you could have, I know the fourth video, they went through the years of like politicians and public figures describing why climate change is a problem and what it is. So that made sense because it was done by the year. But I felt like the best thing for this subject was the Bill Nye video, of course. This followed a clear cause and effect pattern. He spoke like, they know how global warming started, then what it is, and then what happens if it gets out of control. And that was the introduction, organization. But then it looked at aspects of global warming and the cause and effect of like how the polar ice caps melting would affect us, and like then he went to what we could do about it. So it made logical sense, and it was really nicely organized. And then there was engagement. So the first one actually did really well. This one didn't do well in a lot of other ones, but like the music was so dramatic, and like they had video clips from different action, suspenseful movies. I know like The Day After Tomorrow I saw in there. That was pretty cool. It really pulls in the audience when they have like that grabber at the beginning. Visual aids speak volumes. All of them had visual aids. Every single one of them. But I gave the last one a really poor score just because it was really long and boring, and the visual aid was pretty constant throughout. Like, they had one side of the screen be the president or the political figure or whatever, and then the other side of the screen was a graph, and you can like see the graph like climbing as the climate is changing. So I know I hit the 7-minute mark. I'll start wrapping it up here. So 3 course concepts that I noticed throughout this the video processing. Non-verbal communication. So this helps capture the audience with gestures, and hand gestures can like emphasize a point or attract your attention back to the speaker. Like I said earlier, they would point at a visual aid and then like make a grand gesture to like bring your attention from the visual aid back to the speaker. And what they wear. What they wear is a really, we don't really think of this as nonverbal, but what they wear is a nonverbal thing that we have to take in account. So Bill Nye, of course, always looking professional with his bow tie. This is different from like some kid probably making the video sitting at home in his sweats. I don't know, but it helped to have a person in the video who was professionally dressed. Like, you always look to that person and be like, this is a professionally dressed person, and that helps with credibility as well. And then loudness, it's again to capture our attention or to make a point. Speaking a little quieter. My science teacher used to do this. He used to speak really, really quiet, and then like everyone would be forced to lean in and listen. And then my second course concept would be critical thinking. In the video that made most sense, so the Bill Nye video, statistics were read and then made sense of and then further proved. So I feel like he was kind of coming at it from an objective standpoint where like this could or could not be true. Let's look at like what went into this research. Let's look at like what types of research were done. And he really picked it apart, and he was like, this is where these statistics come from. So it really helped that like there was critical thinking, so we could like prove it right there. And the third course concept, I felt like some of the stuff on the list didn't really play a part in the videos I watched, except for critical thinking and nonverbal language. So I'm going to do a flashback to the last half of the semester and talk about perception. In any debate, perception is a really important thing. the people in the climate change is a hoax videos, they relied solely on information from like some emails that were given to the public about like climate change is a hoax and whatever, and they solely relied on those emails, but we have other evidence saying otherwise, and they just totally ignored that, didn't even try to refute it, like, and that's selective attention in perception is what that is. So, yeah, thank you.